What's up, traders? Welcome back to another lesson. In this one, we are going to be looking at bar states in PineScript. So bar states, if I type out bar state dot control space, we only have a few to work with here. So it might be best to explain this by plotting something onto the chart when these conditions are true. So let's start with confirmed. Let me plot a shape. Let's plot a cross when bar state dot is confirmed is true. Let me save my script. And now we have a cross on every historical bar because every historical bar is confirmed. Now, if I drop down to a 1 minute chart, I don't know if we'll be able to see this happen here, but you can see that the current bar here, the current live bar, is not confirmed yet. It's not got a cross above it. But when this bar hits its final tick and it's in the act of closing, it will have a cross above it. Now, my chart didn't update quick enough to show that, but basically, when this bar closes, before the next bar begins drawing, bar state.is confirmed would be true, and the cross would have been drawing on that final tick, so the very last tick of that time period. So this is useful for things like setup detection. So in my scripts, I always make my trading decisions based on confirmed bars or closed bars. I never make trading decisions based on real-time bars. It's just a matter of preference in the way I trade. I like to wait for price action to confirm whatever pattern it is that I am basing my decisions on. And so bar state.is confirmed is a great way to do that. So for example, let's say you have some entry reason and you detect some candlestick pattern here, and some entry reason is set to true. And later in your code, you say, if some entry reason is true, execute a trade order. So maybe you're working with an automated script, for example, and you want to send a command to a third-party API to enter a trade. The problem here is that if you're not checking if the bar state is confirmed, let's say we're waiting on a bullish engulfing candle. And let's say that as soon as this bar engulfs the previous bar, your setup reason is set to true and your trade order fires. But then a few ticks later or a few minutes later, the bar changes its pattern and it closes as a non-engulfing candle. And suddenly your pattern is invalidated, but your order was already sent to the third party to enter your position. That's a problem. The way you can solve that problem is adding on a check here. You can say, and bar state.is confirmed. And so now this code, this if statement code, will not execute until the very final tick of your current live bar. So that's what bar state.is confirmed is for. Let's look at these other ones. Bar state.is first. If I save this code, this should be pretty self-explanatory, I imagine, but basically it will only be true on the very first bar on your chart, the very first historical bar. So if I go back as far as I possibly can with my historical data, here's the very first bar on my chart, and it's got an X above it. We're plotting this shape above the first bar. Now, is history is very similar to is confirmed. It's asking, is this a historical bar? So now if I save the script, we should be getting an X above all of these bars, except for the current real-time bar because it hasn't closed yet. So this is pretty similar to is confirmed, except that this won't be true until a new bar begins, whereas is confirmed can be true on the final tick of the current bar. Very subtle difference there, but pretty important, especially if you're dealing with entry reasons, for example. If you use is history as your check, like I just showed you earlier, if you wait for is history to be true before you enter your trade, what will happen is your code won't execute until the next bar. So if you get a valid candlestick pattern on this bar and then a new bar begins printing, the new bar doesn't meet your entry criteria. And so if you're checking if it is history, then even though it may be a historical bar, the pattern might not meet your rules for entry. And so that is why is confirmed is preferred when dealing with a real-time bar. But if you just want to check if the bar is a historical bar, you can use is history. Next, we have is last. The same as is first. It will just draw on the very last bar on our chart. So when this bar closes, it will move to the next bar and so on. Do one. It will now move. There we go. So notice we are drawing the X on the previous bar and the current bar because it was true that this was the last bar until the new bar started. And so it will continue drawing X's every time a new bar begins. An X will be drawn above that, but the X will stay above previous bars because PineScript doesn't update code that ran on old bars. So here we have 3 X's. If I refresh my chart, if I save my chart and refresh the page, those X's will go away, but we'll still have one over the current bar. So that's is last confirmed history. So this will give you the last historical bar on your chart. So let me save the code. We'll have an X drawing over this bar because this is the last historical bar on our chart. Next we have is new. So this will only be true on the very first tick of a new bar. So if I hold down Control and click on this inbuilt variable, we'll get a detailed description of it. It says here, this variable is true when calculating on historical bars or on the first update or the very first tick of a newly generated real-time bar. So this is similar to is confirmed. Is confirmed is true on the very last tick of a real-time bar. Is new is true on the very first tick of a new bar, like you see that. And now it's gone away. So this is similar to is confirmed. It tells you when a bar is in the act of opening. It's just begun. It's a brand new baby born bar. Whereas is confirmed is a bar that literally just stopped printing. It just closed or is in the act of closing. And then finally we have is real time. So this will just plot on the current real time bar. So here we have a new real time bar. We're still drawing the X on the previous bar because that was a real time bar before this new bar began. If I refresh my chart, this will go away and we'll just have this drawing over the current real time bar. We do have the issue of repainting with this variable. I'll get into what repainting is in a future lesson and I'll explain ways to avoid it or fix it if it's negatively affecting your script. But anyway, those are the bar states we have to work with. Now the bar state I use the most in my script is bar state.isConfirmed, but we'll explore these other ones if we come across any reasons to use them in our scripts. It's not often you'll need to, but we'll see what we cover as we start building out proper indicators and strategy scripts. Anyway, that'll do it for this lesson. I'll speak with you in the next one, and soon we will get into practical use cases for all of this information. So hang in there, keep watching these lessons. They do build on top of each other, and it will all start to make sense when we start building out our useful and practical tools and strategy scripts.